Hey, what's up everyone? In this video we are going to sum up everything we know about the PlayStation 5. This is Technology. We immediately start with the most important question we all have in mind. When is the PlayStation 5 coming out? To answer this question I will take you all back to 1994. Let's go. On December 3rd, 1994, Sony has released its first console, the PlayStation. However, it had not yet been released in Europe back then. Back then there was a huge difference between regional release dates. The PlayStation was only available in Europe 1 year later, on September 29th in 1995. 6 years after the original release of the console, Sony came with the PlayStation 1. This one released on September 29th in 2000 in Europe, which has been a bit towards the end of the console's life cycle. Because Sony launched the PlayStation 2 in Europe on 24th of November in the year 2000. The funny thing about this is that the PlayStation 1 sold a lot better in the beginning than Sony's new console did, the PlayStation 2. Sony has sold a total of nearly 103 million PlayStations. Despite its slow start, the PlayStation 2 is still the best-selling console ever. With more than 155 million units sold, the console is still number 1 on the list. Sony released a slim version 4 years after the release of the original PlayStation 2, the PlayStation 2 Slim. This one was launched on 29th of October in the year 2004 in Europe. 6 years after the release of the PlayStation 2, Sony came with its newest console. You never guessed the name of this one. Yes, the PlayStation 3. The Sony PS3 was launched on the 11th of November 2006 in Japan and 4 months later in Europe. Sony did the same with this console by releasing a slimmer version. 3 years after the release in September 2009, Sony released the PlayStation 3 Slim. And again, 3 years later in September 2012, Sony came with the PS3 Super Slim. The PS3 has been sold 86 million times and has been on the market for a total of 7 years before Sony came with a successor, the PlayStation 4. This one released on November 29 in 2013 in Europe, and Sony has again gained an important position in the market. Sony had made a big mistake with the PlayStation 3 by using a sub-processor. The sub-processor is not a bad processor, but the development for the PlayStation 3 was not always easy for the developers, and the price tag of the console began with $599 at the release wasn't helping either. Sony had learned from his mistakes and came up with a console where developers got butterflies for in their belly, and this time they came with a very easy architecture. The console was also available for a tempting price. The price of the PS4 was $399 at the release. And that thing contributed to the leading position that the PS4 managed to hold on this generation. Currently the PS4 has already been sold 74 million times. For comparison, the Xbox One is currently sold 36.5 million times, which is not even a half of what the PlayStation 4 has been sold. 3 years after the release of the PlayStation 4, Sony has done something we have never seen before in the console market. The release of the PS4 Pro, where Sony normally releases a slim version of the console. This time they not only released the PlayStation 4 Slim but also the Pro version of the console. The PlayStation 4 is a more powerful version of the PlayStation 4 but not a new console yet. What mostly stands out about these facts is that Sony's console life cycle is about 6 to 7 years, where they bring out some slimmer versions every 3 years. Based on these data, it will be very logical that the PlayStation 5 would be released in the year 2019. But since Sony's leading position on the market and the larger first-party titles that are yet to be released, it is more likely that the PlayStation 5 will release in 2020, with an announcement on a private event in early 2020, and an official release date with a price is likely to be announced during the E3 in 2020. I'm guessing the console will release in Europe on 29th of November 2020, and 3 years later a PlayStation 5 Slim or maybe even a PlayStation 5 Plus in September 2023. Okay, let's talk about the price of the PlayStation consoles. The price of the PlayStation consoles have been different from each other, and Sony has experimented with this. The PlayStation was released for $299, the PlayStation 2 was also being released for the same price. With the PlayStation 3, Sony experimented with the price and it kind of backlashed on them, which gave Sony a very slow start in the console race at that generation. The PlayStation 3 was sold for no less than $599. The PS3 only started to sell well when the PS3 Slim came out into the market. With the PS4, Sony has found the ideal price point. We can see that the Pro variant is also sold for the same price. Sony would like to keep this price and therefore does their best to deliver the best performance for that price tag. The chances are high that the PS5 will release for $399 on November 29, 2020. The PlayStation 5 will run games on native 4K 60 FPS, with of course a big graphical boost. Sony has invested a lot of time and money in VR, and it is already clear that VR is not just a gimmick like it was with 3D TVs. Based on this, the chances are that the PlayStation 5 has a number of components for the VR headsets built in instead of a separate processor unit, for example. Sony is also likely to come up with a new VR headset at the same time as the release of the PlayStation 5. We have put the rumors of this in a separate video with mainly higher resolution, new controllers and the wireless VR headsets. This link is in the description below. The rumors are that Sony is completely switching to USB Type-C. And I'm not just talking about the accessories, but also the power supply for the PlayStation itself. Yes, Apple has already proven that this is possible with their latest MacBooks, so the chances are pretty high that Sony will do the same for their console. Sony came first with CD reader in their console with the PlayStation 1. With the PlayStation 2, this was the DVD reader, and the PlayStation 3 came with a Blu-ray reader. The PlayStation 4 has a kind of a hybrid role, where you could purchase both Blu-ray and digital games. It took some getting used to for many gamers, but the switch from physical to digital has already been made by most gamers. The PlayStation 5 is most likely stepping completely away from the optical drives and comes with a built-in SSD of at least 1 TB. A lack of a Blu-ray reader brings more benefits. This way they save a lot of space and the console gets a little less warm. To switch from HDD to SSD also provides extra silence and cooling in the console, where the ancient HDDs literally have a drive in it that must keep spinning continuously. And of course, the benefits are that the loading times will be considerably faster. The DualShock 4 will also receive an upgrade called the DualShock 5, with a slightly more ergonomic design and a number of tweaks. DualShock 5 will not differ much from the DS4. There are a number of rumors though, they circulate in the internet that both sides of the DualShock 5 could separate just like the Switch controllers do. These rumors fit in with the rumors where Sony will come with a new VR headset with the release of the PlayStation 5. There's a good chance that the DualShock 5 will also serve as a controller for the VR environment. And thanks for watching. If you liked the video, do not forget to give a thumbs up. Let us know what you think about the PlayStation 5 and what you would like to see in a console that will be released in 2020. Do not forget to follow us, and until next time guys, bye.